All right, welcome back, everybody. This is ENGR248 SolidWorks, and it is the second lecture of the first week. It is the first online lecture, so it won't be too long. I'm just going to model a little bit for you. The way to use this is to, have your software open and pause the recording and kind of follow along if you want to try and understand more about SolidWorks and basic part modeling. So I am going to click over to the class. This is the assignment. It says practice problems. They're due on the 16th. And it's problem P1.2, that's this creature, and A, B, C, and D. So it's these, right? And it does say that, but the grid space equal 1 inch. So each one of these grids is an inch. So you kind of got to look at the grids and figure out the size. So I am going to go back and forth between the project or the drawing that's given, excuse me, and SolidWorks. So I'll flip to this so you can look at this. Oh, excuse me, sorry about that. And we can see what I'm going to do is I'm going to model this one, C, for you, okay? And I'll go back and forth between this diagram and the software. So there you go. All right, so let's just kind of start at the beginning and you can walk through this with me if you'd like. Down in the lower right corner, it does tell you the unit you're working with. So if you click on that, you can see we are inch pound second. So that's good because this drawing is in inches, as it said in the exercise right here, 1 inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4 inches across here. Looks like that's a grid, 1, 2, 3, 4 inches across here and a couple tall, right? So modeling intent, I would probably model this surface first, right? With that notch out, and then I would extrude it this deep. Again, this is the front view. We want to kind of keep that in position so our object's in the same position as the object we're trying to model. All right, so we start with sketching. Click on sketch. So that's pick button. When you're very first starting, you get the 3 planes. Once you have an object, then you no longer get the 3 planes. You can use the object. So I'm going to go onto the front plane. And that's where I'm going to make this surface here, right? Looks like it's 4 by 2, and then it has this cutout. So that's what I'm going to sketch. So again, you can just sketch it, right? If you want to look at the numbers, you can, but you really don't have to. So I'm just going to start at the bottom, go across, come down. If you move slowly with your mouse, you'll see these dotted lines show up. That's giving you nice vertical and horizontal intersections. So if you're careful with your mouse, you can do a lot of work that way, okay? Go. And I'm going to look for that vertical coming up. That's where I'm going to click, and I'm going to come down. So what you want to look for are these relationships. These are called relationships. I'm going to get out of the tool. So now I'm not in a tool, right? That's a horizontal and it's tagged to line 7. That's a vertical and it's tagged to line 6. This is a coincident with line 5. So where's line 5? This is probably line 4. Here is line 5, coincident with line 5. So these two are coincident. So that just, oh, this is coincident with this line, I'm guessing. So this is what? Line 1. Yeah. So these two are acting in the same plane, and this keeps them lined up. So that's what these relationships are all about. There's another one here. It's the origin and a corner of the part, right? It's just trying to keep track of what is connected to what. All right, once you get your sketch kind of completed, and again, keep these simple. Build parts in small pieces. I'm gonna smart dimension it to get it the correct size. So I think this is supposed to be 2. This is supposed to be 1. Right, I think this was 2. So I'm just grabbing lines and then pulling them away and then placing. Right, I'm grabbing the line. I could go from point to point. That also works. It's just a little more work and I don't need that. Now, this is telling me, because this is horizontal, it's telling me that this is gonna be driven. In other words, this dimension is driven by this dimension. It's basically telling you that you're being redundant, that you don't need. Okay, so I canceled it. But this one still is blue for some reason. And my sketch is underdefined. I want it defined. So the reason it is because it's not located up and down. So I could click on one of these to locate it. And then it's fully defined. So it's happened. Okay, so really work to get things fully defined. It's good practice to keep your dimensions off of the object, kind of just so you can see the object. So, you know, but it really doesn't matter. You just got to get it defined. Okay. So then once it's defined, I want to extrude it. I'm looking at a distance of 4, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 inches deep. Okay. So here we go. We're going to go extrude. Remember that flips and rotates and highlights the extrusion because it knows 0.1 is not right. So I'm going to put 4 in. And it's doing it, but it's going a different direction than I want. So I'm actually going to use these 2 arrows here to flip the direction. Okay. Now there's things you can do here. Like if I grab this arrow, I can drag it around. Well, that's just not very accurate. Now it's 395. So I prefer the input method. I used extrude, so it's making a solid. Green check mark, and I can look at it. Whenever I do this move, I always roll it around, and that is pushing the roller mouse down like a button, and then moving the mouse, okay? And then if I want to go back to very specific views, that's this view orientation cube. If I open it, you can see that I can get any view I want, including these ISO views, right? So this is pretty handy. I'm going to click that and it's going to go right back to that view. Okay, so we have a good start. Back to our object. Looks like it's maybe what? 1, 2, 3 tall. No, I bet it's just 2 tall. 1, 2. Same as this height is what it looks like. And then maybe 2 diameter, right? And as far as I know, it's just centered up. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's see if we can do that. Now, when you're adding geometry or subtracting geometry from an existing part, when you go to sketch, it's going to say choose a plane and use your object. So I could choose here or here or here to create my sketch. I'll choose here. That's where I want the circle. Okay. And then I can go circle. Now I kind of want it in the center. So I'm going to see if I can drag some points down. I'm not picking. I'm just pointing to them and trying to pull them down. So I can pull that one down. Again, I'm not picking. I'm just going over, looking for the midpoint, and I want to pull it across. And if you do this a couple times, it'll find and use both of them. So that's the geometric center of this surface, right? So SolidWorks can do that if you're just patient. You don't have to click. You just show it points and pull it. And then when you have the two connected, you click, and then it's going to do it, right? So then I can do that, and I think it's about that big, which is probably right. I think it's looking good, right? So I'm going to pull. I always pull my dimensions off. I don't leave them in here. I always pull them off, and that's going to help you later. And then when you place it, you get to size it. I think it's supposed to be 2. Okay, and it's in the right spot. Now, it's still blue because it's not located by dimensions. So I will locate. There's the 2. And again, you got to pick the center, not anything else, just the center. And then maybe up here. For some reason I'm not getting it. Oh, there we go. Back. Smart dimension from center. Let's point to this creature and that. So often it'll give you a first dimension, and then when you click a second object, it'll give you a second dimension. So let's see if this turns it black. It does. Very good. Okay. And we're done with that. And we have a sketch and it's on a surface. So that's the other thing I always check and make sure my sketch is on the right surface, the correct surface. And it is. All right, so I'm going to extrude it again because I need another solid. Now it's using the number from my last extrusion. It's using 4. And I don't think that's correct. I think it's 2. So let's see if we can make it 2. 2. That looks right. And you can see the merge result is chosen. So that's going to merge this with this into one part. Now, if I unclick it, it's still going to look like it's merged, but really it'll be a cylinder and this piece. They'll be connected, but they'll be individual pieces. And there's some advantages to that. And we'll talk about that when we get to it later in the term. Right now, just leave that merged and hit green check. All right, I think, let's see, does it look the same? This looks a little wider than, maybe it's just the perspective. Well, let's see. All right, I'm gonna look at the piece of paper up close, my glasses on. Pretty sure it's 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4. Yeah, I think that's correct. It just looks a little different. So I think their grid is maybe not as square. Like it got distorted a little bit when I made the copy, is my guess. But I think that is correct. And I think the cylinder is correct too. So maybe it's, more of this kind of position. But that space looks good to the edge compared to that space to the edge. Right? And if I look at it really closely, I just think it's 2. So it's about all you can do, right? When we're doing it this way. It's not super accurate, I know that. All right, so let's go back to this. So now for submitting it, you got to save it, right? And I want you to use this saving convention. I'm going to set it on the desktop. I want your last name first. And then, I would put like 2.1. Hey, no, 2.1, what is it? C, right? So that's the name of it. You don't have to use this dot here. Just put spaces in if you want. That's the kind of naming convention I want. Your last name and then like the file name. Okay. Each one of these you're going to have to do in its own file. So I would save it. And then to get the second part, because I do want 2 things, you can do save as again and then make it into a PDF, right? Right? And the name's already good, so leave that. So there we go. Both of them are on the desktop. I don't know if I'll ever be able to show you that. Oh, there's that one, right? And then the SolidWorks one, let's see where it is. I don't really see it, but it's probably here somewhere. That's anyway. Yeah. All right, we'll give you a sort by type. And that'll line up all the SolidWorks exercises. Interesting. I don't see it, so I don't know why I don't see it. Maybe I didn't change it appropriately. Let's do it again. File. Save as. Desktop. Well, it shows it here, so it is getting it saved. Right? All right. So that's kind of that's kind of quick, but this is what we're going to do for a while. We're just going to practice modeling stuff. There's a lot of tools, right? There's a lot of tools here once you get a part going that you can play with if you want. We do a lot of fillets. We do a lot of shelling, which you did in that first lesson tutorial, to make parts. We can go back in time to make changes. Like if I thought this was 5 across the top, that sketch is way back here under the first extrusion, right? Or if I wanted a different depth, then I could edit this. So you can edit any of these. So I'm going to edit the sketch. You click on it, you move up to edit sketch and edit sketch. And it'll open it up to you, right? So maybe I thought this should be 3. Stretch it out a little like that. So let's see what that does. I can then exit the sketch. It's going to rebuild. Notice what it did to the top piece. It's no longer centered, but maybe that's what I think, right? So you can go back in time. Like now I could go back to this sketch and fix it, right? I'll get rid of, actually, this looks good. I'll leave this one here. I'll get rid of this one. And I'd like to move it to the center, right? Once it's blue and not controlled, you can actually just kind of grab it and move it around, but that's not very accurate. So, right, I don't really know how far to go. I can look at the little readout, but that isn't always wonderful. So I probably want something to move it to. So there's a center line here that works great as a construction line. So now that I have a location to move it, then I could just kind of grab it and drag it over and you'll see it snap to it, right? So I'll say, okay. Notice that it kept the 2, right? 2's still there. It's at this location, but it's blue because there's no dimension that's identifying that. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to this thing, and then I'm going to go to this thing like that. That should turn it black, and that's good. Right, and I'll exit Smart Dimension, and I'll exit the sketch, and it will rebuild. All right. So that's just kind of basic going back in time and modifying, right? So that would be if we thought this was supposed to be one more unit inside there. So I don't know, kind of looks, does look a little bit similar to that now. So either way, it's all good, but practice that, right? Practice editing things back in time and then resaving, and you'll see how that works. All right, that's it. Good luck on these exercises. Have a great weekend and be safe out there.